All right, folks, I'm going to get rolling. Keep going if you still have a few minutes left on that. The attendance today, if you didn't do the attendance, please do so. There's sort of just a different question there that I'll need the answer to by the end of class, just to figure out what we want to prioritize to do on Friday. Okay. So by way of recap, we're talking about modules. And to date, for the most part, we've been just writing scripts. We've been writing some code that we just, run it from the command line or run it from EdStem. That's a really useful skill. That's something that you'll definitely use, not necessarily just in writing programs, but if you're in cyber, if you're going to be in analytics, if you're going to be in big data, whatever, you just need to write scripts to automate stuff. It's a great skill set that we have as programmers to be able to do this. My instinct with anything is, how do I code it? If I have a problem, how do I code it? And so it's no different than if you're sitting around, you're like, I want to go somewhere. Well, how do I get there? Well, you jump in a car or you take a bus, right? You use the tools that you know how to leverage. It's the same thing with coding. You can make your life a lot easier by writing scripts to do any number of stuff. So what's the next level up from this? And the next level up from this is writing programs. And so this whole chapter was really about the fact that we want to write this code once. And so in that previous example, we had this, withdraw function that might live at a bank. And we might have different applications. We have an application for the machine outside for the drive-through, and we might have the computer for the teller up front. We're going to use this metaphor in assignments 11 and 12. So we'll get a little bit more practice with the raising of exceptions and using modules there. So recap, the basic syntax, we've been doing this since, I think, week 2, so this really shouldn't be a big surprise. If I want to use a function or a class or anything really that lives in a different file, so sort of there's a file random.py somewhere out there, and there's a function called random in there, or randint. So if I want to use functions in that package, it's the module name dot function. Something that you may not have been doing, but it might clean up your code a little bit. When you have to import a lot of stuff, if for whatever reasons they're related, you can just say import random comma math. Just makes your code a little bit more succinct. Then we had this sort of backwards way of talking, like Yoda a little bit, from random import randint. So if I didn't want to type random.randint all over the shop, I could just do that. And then the last thing that's new here, and again, I've been doing this since early on, so I don't think it was too confusing for people, but if I got tired of typing out randint, I could just say randint as RI. And I had that example where I did also another thing that's just R. But be careful if you do that, because it gets very, very confusing. You have to debug that, and I'll show you that a little bit later today. And the big example I gave was like, if you did something from math import fabs as F, that might get really, really confusing if you're opening files somewhere in your code and you just very quickly say, open my file as F. Right? Okay, so packages. I don't know why Python wants to make things very difficult. A package is just a query. That's all it is. So we're going to jump right over into EdStem and look at this. So if you got to the zyBooks work, I don't know why they did this. The zyBooks work was talking about like ASCII art. I think there might be something in one of the labs about it. And I wanted to use that metaphor here. So let's take a look. And again, this is one of those, you have access to this if you want to run it. If you don't want to keep up in class here, that's cool. I wrote a little program down here that is going to ask us if we want to generate different types of ASCII art. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically drawing pictures with characters, like the letter A, numbers, periods, all that sort of good stuff. So I have a little menuing system here, like that pizza system we did a while ago, where we can either write a custom message, I've pulled down some animal images and so forth. So you should all know what this code's generally doing. It's a while loop. I have it inside a try block in case something goes south in here. And I'm going to call these individual functions up here. And what these functions are going to do is they're going to leverage a bunch of modules that I pulled together. So let's run the program and see what happens. Okay. What would you like to do? Let's write a custom message. Hi, class. Okay, scroll up. Okay, trouble. Name, generate ASCII art is not defined. So I still see people struggling when you get exceptions, you freeze, and you're like, I don't know what to do. Just read the error message. Like most of the time, it just tells you what the problem is. A lot of times, it'll give you the line number. So here it says, generate ASCII art not defined. So I'll find that line of code in here, and here it is. So this is a function. So the first place I'm going to look is the run directory. So I need to know what directory main.py is in. Well, conveniently, there's a file here called generate_ASCII, right? So that's likely what I need. I can look at this. I have some code that I put together here for drawing different letters. It's got a function in here and so forth. Now, it's really important here. There's this if block. So I can use this module on its own if I want to, but I want to use it in my code, which likely means I don't want this prompting the user with random stuff. So anyways, we should know how to import at this point. This is the standard stuff. I can say from generate ASCII import the name of my function. Now, when I run this and I say hi class, that generated some ASCII art, HICLASS. Whatever. Spells out that letter. Cool. All right, let's look at the next one here. I ran number 2, animal image. Name, get zoo is not defined. So what I need to do is I just need to sort of logically think about what's going on here and say, okay, well, I don't see anything called zoo in here. Let me look up in here. Okay, just make some connections. I see something called animal, right? So I have a bunch of ASCII art for some animals in here. And ooh, look at this. I have a function called getZoo. Now, as opposed to generate ASCII, which was out here in the same directory as main, in order for me to access that module, I'm now going to have to do something a little bit different, but this shouldn't be too uncomfortable. From ASCII art, that's my package or my folder, dot animals, import getZoo. Now when I run my code, I want this animal image. Our zoo has these animals, dog, cat, cow. Search for the cat. There's my cat in the ASCII art over here. Cool. So the next one, big word. See, this is what I'm talking about. If you use like these really short names, stuff gets jacked up real fast. So name W is not defined. Like, grant you, I wrote this code, so I know where it's screwed up, but like, good luck to you if you were trying to debug this code and you were looking for like the W that happened to be causing the problem here, right? This is a pain. But I just happen to know, coincidentally, because I wrote the code, right here, this loop, for word in W dictionary. Okay, so again, I'm going to use some context clues. I see something over here that says words. Yep, here we go. There's some bigger ASCII art, and I happen to have a variable this time, not a function, a variable that I call dictionary. So I can go into my code over here, and I'm going to say from my package, which is really a directory, from ASCII art.words, import. I got to take a look at this and say, what do I have here? Oh, words. Okay. Let's see if this works. I don't know. Import dictionary. So now in this particular case, when I go to run this up, let's try this, 3 big word. No, name W is not defined. Oh, okay. As W, is that what I want to do? Let's see. Run this up, big word. Nope, dict object has no attribute dictionary. So what I want to do here is something a little bit different. I just want to say from ASCII art, I can import that whole module this time. So I have to be careful with the way I interpret those error messages. So here I'm going to import this whole module as W. Why? The way I decided to use it down here was really the module name dot variable name. So I have to know, oh yeah, look at this, it's a variable in here. So my intent was W was the module, not like the function in this previous example. So now when I do that, which was this big word? Is it big word? Yeah, big words. Oh, I get Aggies. I get the big old Aggies. And then let's close it out with the last one here. What do I have? The mascot. What the error? Named Aggie is not defined. Well, hopefully, again, we need our context clues. Here's the mascot. Kind of in depth here. Cool. Go back to my main. From ASCII art. Import, I'll do it this way this time. From ASCII art dot mascot. Import, with my variable name mascot, but I'm using it as Aggie. As Aggie. Now when I run this up, I say get the mascot. Bit of a, it's hard to see here, but if you look at it on your computer, it's a pretty decently good resolution of the Aggie mascot. There we go. All right. This is modules, packages, whatever. Not much more to it than that. Just a fancy way for saying directory. All right. With these packages, this is kind of neat. I have to move over to my other computer to show this because that step doesn't do it very well. Part of the reason why we like to code and put stuff into modules is so different people can work on different things at the same time. And so if I take kind of the same code we had in that example, let's take a look at this code. I have a file, animals.py, that has this ASCII art we looked at before. I can run this script on its own, Python 3 animals.py. And in here, I'm just printing out what I have in here, this cat and this dog. Now I have another file in here, main. If I look at this one, right up top, I say import animals. If I want to make use of all the logic that's over there. Now notice here, this very last line here, there's this function that they teach us in Zybooks. Part of the import lib library, there's something called reload. So the point of reload is so during the day, during the runtime, you can change your code and not have to stop your program and restart it. This was a challenge for years in languages like Java that had to pre-compile all the code. A lot of times you had to shut your machine down or your process down in order to get new code. So with Python, you don't really have to do that. You can say, hey, Python, I want you to go reread all the things, all the code that was in that file. So the little example that I put together here, I'll do Python 3 main.py. Okay, I have two animals in here, dog and cat. So there's my dog, there's my cat. Okay, what if I want to look at a cow? We don't have a cow, right? So now pretend I'm another developer. So another developer is going to come over here and they're going to say, right, I'm going to edit the animal file. So I have some other images in here. It's going to call this getZoo function. So the current line is just returning a dictionary with a dog and a cat. If I go up here and I say, I'm going to return a dog, cat, and cow. So one person's doing this, maybe over in another machine, maybe in a different country, who knows where. So back in my program here, somebody else made the change. Now, if I don't reload this, if I say, should I reload this? I say no. I get that same menu. I get the cat, I get the dog, right? But I don't see the cow. But if I put in here, and I don't know, I want a dolphin. We don't have a dolphin, try reloading. Should we reload? This time I'll say yes. So look at my menu now. Dog, cat, and cow, right? So now I have that cow. Cool. Look for a dolphin again. We don't have a dolphin, try reloading. So I can do this real time and come over here. This time I'm going to return this dictionary that has a dog, cat, cow, and a dolphin in it. So I made the change, and then over here, reload it, yes, boom. I immediately have the dolphin in this program. There's my dolphin. So this is kind of how we should imagine our programs. Like, they're not just scripts, they're not things we're just running one time. We might have a program that's running just continuously all the time. And now we can sort of make changes, assuming we split up our code smartly, right? We don't want to have everything monolithically in one folder, but at the same time, we don't want everything broken out into like just a little function per file. It'd be way too hard to maintain. So it's kind of a balance there. Okay. Good. Let's go back over here. This is going to be the easiest section. I really don't even have to teach anything here because you've seen most of these, but it's worth at least flashing it up. These are the core standard libraries in Python. So whether you're using a Mac, whether you're using a Windows machine, you're on a Linux box, whatever, all of these modules exist. And you've used a lot of these. You use sys, map, random, datetime. Actually, we didn't do datetime, but there's a whole bunch here. So as you start writing other programs for yourself, get creative, explore some of these, see what goes on in there. Really, this last one, URL handling for functions, we're likely going to use that in project 4. But, you know, not teaching them, we just need to know these modules exist, they're basically files, and they have a bunch of functions in them. Okay, believe it or not, we are done with chapter 12, which is modules. And if you haven't put the pieces together, that means we are done with Zybooks. We have gotten through every single thing we needed to do. So nothing else to read. I mean, there's other cool chapters and stuff in there, I guess, but that's all we're going to cover for this course. So where does that leave us? So this is the question I asked you to answer when we came into class. So let's see what the class sort of voted on here. And I'm happy to discuss this. What do we want to look at on Friday? Do we want to work on project 3 as a group? Do we want to work on assignments 11 and 12? Do we want to split, do a little bit of both? Do we want to lecture on cybersecurity, or you won't be here on Friday? So it looks like we're probably in this split, do a little bit of both in class. So I can prepare for that. Certainly looks like we're maybe a little strongly into the let's do project 3 as a group. That's cool. But I think anybody with a strong opinion about we'll just do maybe 20 minutes on project 3, 20 minutes on 11 and 12. Just split the time a little bit. The cybersecurity one, I'll share a video of that. I'm giving that lecture tonight in a graduate class. So I'll make sure that gets recorded. Anybody who's interested, you can watch that. Any other requests for this Friday? But it's not the end of the journey yet. So let's take a minute here for those who might not be here. What is up with assignment 11 and 12? So as I was developing assignment 11, I needed to do a whole bunch of imports. And honestly, that modules chapter is so small, I just decided to collapse both assignments into one. So this will be due right before break. I know a lot of people like to work to the last minute, but the intent is not for you to actually work when you're not here. That's sort of just buffer. If it was me, I'd get this stuff done over the weekend. I have office hours on Monday. Come see me. I'll probably announce other office hours on Tuesday as well, if anybody wants additional help. So what does assignment 11 and 12 look like? It is a pretty standard EdSTEM program here. So the first part, I'm giving you UML, and remember, 11's exceptions and 12 is modules, right? So, all right, 11's exceptions. So I'm giving you UML for exceptions. So you need to create a general banking error and two subclasses, insufficient funds error and invalid amount error. So you're going to write these classes. You know how to write classes at this point. And you're also going to write the unit tests for those. Once you get those correct, then I have a couple of classes over here, a bank and a bank account. So what I'm going to want you to do is go into that code, and I'm going to want you to modify them such that they're going to raise these exceptions. So if somebody tries to withdraw more money than you have in your account, you need to raise whatever it is, insufficient funds error. Once you get that section working, you're going to copy your code over into the handling exceptions. So I have a menuing system, again, a lot like the pizza thing, a lot like the search engine things we looked at, where you're going to say to the user, would you like to withdraw money? Would you like to deposit money? Would you like to open an account, right? But this is going to require that you throw exceptions and you handle exceptions. Well, clearly we'll spend some time on Friday going through that. If you're not here, don't worry. Have the assignment. Macro picture. This is getting pretty firmed up at this point. So tomorrow in lab, we will do quiz 11 on exceptions. Assignment 10 is due at 11. Okay, that's tomorrow. Friday, quiz 12 on modules? No, quiz 12 is on Monday. Friday, we're going to do what we just talked about here. Scratch that line there. It's going to be on Monday. If you're not going to be here Monday, let me know. You can take quiz 12 remotely. Monday, we will be doing exam prep for 10, 11, and 12. Again, if you can't make it here, you can watch the video on that. I should have the exam done this weekend. Then we have the break. Before break, project 3, assignment 11 and 12, homework 11 and 12. All that stuff due right before we take off. And then when we get back, Monday, I'm not putting the exam on this day. We can do exam prep for the final. I'll hold a code jam Monday night. Tuesday, I have another code jam. Wednesday will be the exam on 10, 11, 12. I'll do another code jam if anybody needs it. Next Thursday, the Thursday we get back, December 5th, will be project 5 or project 4. That whole lab is going to require you to be there. Do not miss this last lab. That's the only way you're going to get credit for project 4. I'll do another code jam on Friday. Our exam's Monday, and you never hear from me again unless you want to. Okay, I have office hours now. I'll be over there until about 4:30, 5 o'clock. Ciao.